So it started with whispers. Now it's echoing across the world. Scandinavian prog is literally everywhere. It's on Spotify charts, it's on game soundtracks, it's on vinyl collections. And in this video, I'm going to talk to you about 6 of the very best bands from this area and explore how the North has reshaped the soul of prog, blending it with folk, cinematic soundscapes and spiritual depth. This is the sound of a cultural shift. Now, we begin very much in the now with Calandre, who are a modern Norwegian band that sits at the crossroads of cinematic art rock, dark folk, and atmospheric prog. Now, these guys were founded in 2011, and their sound feels like it was carved out of a mist-covered mountain. It blends haunted female vocals, Nordic folklore, and post-rock ambience, and they've really carved quite a unique identity that pushes the edges of what progressive music really can mean today. Now, their breakout moment came with The Line in 2020. This was an album soaked in emotion and eerie beauty. Tracks like Brave New World pulse with primal energy, building slowly and collapsing into waves of layered vocals and ambient distortion. It's less about complexity and time signatures, and it's more about complexity and mood. UK critics have taken note. Prog magazine described them as emotionally devastating and sonically cinematic, drawing comparisons to Sigur Rós, Kate Bush, and Dead Can Dance. They also garnered attention for their soundtrack contributions to the Viking game Kingdom 2 Crowns, adding even more weight to this mythical aura. Now, in many ways, Calandre represents the next generation of Scandinavian prog. But before Nordic Dreamscapes, there was a band called Kuiper. Now, these laid the foundation for Sweden's progressive scene back in the 1970s. They were formed in 1973 by keyboardist Hans Lundin, and Kuiper blended symphonic rock with Swedish folk, jazz, and classical compositions. They had some early albums, with the self-titled one in 1975, Inget Net and Solen in 1976, and Solo in 1978, and these are lush, intricate, and deeply melodic, with lyrics sung in Swedish, really setting them apart from their British contemporaries. Now, one key figure in Kuiper's early years was Roy Stolt, a young guitarist whose expressive playing hinted at even greater things to come. More on him shortly. Kuiper's work was largely under the radar in the UK during the 70s, but during the 2000s Reformation, with albums like Notes from the Past and Angling Feelings, the UK press began to recognise their legacy. Classic Rock presents Prog, lauded their cinematic grace and regional authenticity. They are quite revered today as pioneers, the quiet architects of a uniquely Swedish sound that would echo through the decades. From Kuiper's foundations, though, came the Flower Kings, formed by Roy Stolt in the mid-1990s. Now, whilst the world leaned towards grunge and minimalism, the Flower Kings doubled down on everything prog. Long-form compositions, symphonic grandeur, and cosmic themes. Their debut back in the World of Adventures in 1995 was followed by the masterpiece like Stardust We Are in 1997 and Unfold the Future in 2002. These albums featured sprawling 20-minute tracks, philosophical lyrics, and a kaleidoscopic blend of jazz, classical, and rock. A sound that challenged Yes and Genesis whilst feeling fresh but vibrant. Now, in the UK, their rise coincided with the early stirrings of a progressive rock revival. Prog magazine and Mojo praised their ambition and accessibility, calling them unashamedly grand, and key players in the genre's second wave. The Flower Kings brought prog back to life, and for many became the gateway to discovering the wider Scandinavian progressive movement. But from the spiritual optimism of the Flower Kings, we move into some vintage intricacy of Wobbler, perhaps Norway's most dedicated analog revivalists. These were formed in 1999, and Wobbler's sound is a love letter to early 70s prog. Their mission? Really to create new music using only vintage instruments. Mellotrons, Mini Moogs, Rickenbackers, all those names. And to do it in the same compositional discipline that made Gentle Giant and Yes so compelling. Their 2017 album From Silence to Somewhere was a revelation. UK critics raved. Prog magazine called it a masterwork of the genre, praising its medieval counterpoints and emotional scope. But with 4 long tracks, it felt like a lost classic rediscovered. But it's got that distinctly Norwegian twist. One of Wobbler's latest contributions, Dwellers of the Deep from 2020, continued that climb, solidifying their reputation as torchbearers of classic prog done right. For Scandinavian artists, Wobbler have represented the enduring power of complexity, history, and authentic craft. But in contrast to Wobbler's structured grandeur, Airbag offers stillness, introspection in space. This Oslo-based band emerged in the early 2000s and were very much inspired by Pink Floyd, Porcupine Tree and modern art rock. Their albums Identity from 2009, The Greatest Show on Earth from 2013 and A Day at the Beach 2020 unfold slowly, like landscapes seen through a train window. They've got delicate guitar lines, ambient textures and deeply personal lyrics that define their style. Lead guitarist Bjorn Riss, who is also a solo artist, is a master of emotional restraint. He's often compared to David Gilmour for his melodic phrasing and ability to say more with less. UK reception has been strong. The Guardian described their music as a mediation in widescreen, while Prog magazine praised their clarity and cinematic touch. Airbag proves that progressive rock doesn't always need to be complex. Sometimes it's the space between the notes that matters most. And finally, we're in the dark woods of Swedish prog with Anglagard, a band whose music feels as if it's emerged from moss-covered ruins. Formed in the early 90s, Anglagard's debut album Hybris in 1992 stunned the progressive world. With no radio play and little commercial push, it became a cult classic. The music is dense, it's unpredictable, it's filled with Swedish folk motifs, dissonant counterpoint, and really an almost classical rigor. Their follow-up, Epilogue in 1994, which is entirely instrumental, deepened their mythical status. And when they returned with Villains Ogre in 2012, after nearly 20 years, critics were floored again. The music had matured, it's grown darker and more intricate. Stephen Wilson of Porcupine Tree cited them as a personal influence. UK prog fans embraced them, with Classic Rock Presents Prog calling Hybris a landmark in modern progressive music. Anglagard's legacy is their ability to haunt, to echo the ancient and the unknown, reminding us that prog, at its best, can be mythic. And from the haunting beauty of Calandra to the mathematical precision of Wobbler, from the grandeur of the Flower Kings to the silent between Airbag's notes, these 6 bands prove that Scandinavian progressive rock is not a footnote. It's a full-blown movement. Here, prog's not frozen in time. It's alive, it's evolving, and it's tied to the land, shaped by snow, forest, sky, and sea. And while the UK may have lit the first spark, it is the North where the fire quietly, steadily burns. This is the first snapshot into the wonderful world of Scandinavian prog. Leave any thoughts or more band suggestions in the comments section, and no doubt I'll be back showcasing more of this extraordinary talent. Not so long ago, I made a video about the release of an album by the first band from this list, Calandra, and that's the video I want you to watch next. I'll see you over there.